Hey everyone, welcome back to another tutorial. Today we are going to be doing two mountain landscapes. We're going to do a winter mountain landscape in the day on this side, and then on this side of our paper we're going to do an evening mountain landscape also in the winter. And I'm going to be showing you this without washi tape started. I will have more details listed over on my blog for you to go over there and check that out. I will have a link in the description box below. All right, so we are going to start with our daytime mountain landscape first. I'm going to grab my medium round brush, and I'm going to load this up with water. And then I'm going into my Payne's Gray paint, and you are just going to kind of scratch that paint in on the texture of your paper. So this will work better with cold press or rough paper. Hot press paper, it'll be really hard to get this just because there's not a lot of texture on that paper for you to work with. So I just am scratching in this paint, and this is giving the texture of a mountain. And right there, you could leave that as is. If you want, you can now get more water on your brush and you can kind of blend out the shadowing on the rest of your mountain. But you really want a lot of that top portion to just really stay that scratchy, rough feel, and then you can blend out as you go down. And this is just going to transform your mountains. All right, so now that is our hard part. We are going to paint in the rest of our landscape. I am just going to grab some paint, and that is why you want to do that step first, is because you just want to be able to work with that light paper. You don't have to work over anything. I will show you a little bit different with our nighttime one. All right, so now I'm just filling in my sky with pretty blue paint. I will have the specific colors I'm using listed over on my blog, and just kind of plopping in some darker color to give the appearance of clouds. And then what I've been doing a lot recently to show that there is snow coming down, I'm just going to tap in some clean water onto that sky. And then as that dries, it's going to give the appearance of snow. And then we're going to go down here. So our mountain is pretty much dry already, and we're going to leave our sky as is. And I'm going to take, I'm going to take that same blue from the sky, and I'm just going to repeat what I did with my mountain and just dab off a lot of the extra. And I'm going to just start painting in snowy shadows. I'm just very randomly moving my brush back and forth across my page. And then remember, everything always gets darker the closer you are in perspective. And I'm gonna just get a little bit more Payne's Gray on my brush. Just gonna dab in some more like shadowy shapes coming off of the mountain, just so it doesn't feel so flat and like a harsh transition over here. Just gonna blend that in. And then because this is our little winter landscape and we're gonna be, let's say we're in the Arctic, I'm just gonna paint in a cute little penguin real quick, because we can do that with our painting. And it's just gonna be really loose. This cute little penguin. Give him a little wing right here. This side too. A little bit more black on my brush. A little bit more. And just dab that in, go down, around. Just tap that little guy in. Just making sure I got his proportions right. And then we're gonna give him feet. I'm gonna switch over to a smaller brush and get some yellow ochre. And just have little feet right there, kind of floating. And then going back to my medium brush, get a little bit Payne's gray, a little bit of that blue, so it's just like a good mix. Make sure it's nice and watery. Oops, I got a brush there. And then we're just gonna give this guy a little shadow, just so he has some, feels like he's actually there. And then I'm gonna use that same paint color, just kind of tie in that shadow color so it doesn't feel random. I'm gonna get a little bit more paint. Just add some darker splotches to this guy. We are now gonna move over to our nighttime landscape. And so this is gonna be a little bit different just because the mountain is gonna be reflecting a little bit more. It's just gonna be reflected a little bit differently. So what we're going to do is we're gonna get a decent amount of black paint on our brush. And we're gonna start with that same technique. It's just gonna be a lot darker. So it's, again, I'm using a lot of black instead of going with the lighter Payne's gray. And I still want those white highlights to show because that's the snow on our mountain. And then I'm gonna get more black and water it down just a little. And then that's gonna be our shadow. Coming down. And then I'm gonna use my wet brush. It's a little bit wetter. And then I'm gonna start where it's white and I'm just gonna work my way up till it touches. And I'm just gonna drag that across. And get a little bit more black paint. Just kind of touch up a bit. A little bit more scratches in there. All right, and there we have our evening mountain. And we're gonna have a little bit more fun with our sky. So I'm gonna get my larger brush and I'm gonna go into my bluish green paint. Paint that right, get more water on it. We do not want the dry brush technique with this one. And I'm gonna paint that right in the center and kind of let it fade behind the mountain right there. I'm gonna clean my brush off and go right into my indigo paint. I'm gonna grab that and I'm just gonna go right in, right next to it. And we're gonna kind of create our own northern lights. Let those colors touch. And you wanna work a little bit faster just so that everything does bleed into each other. And this, you don't want white to show with the sky. You want it to all blend. Gonna get more of that paint. Just working that in. Just again, trying to go fast so it all blends in nicely. Whenever you have more like wetter paint, touch paint that is starting to dry, that's when you're going to get those weird blooms in your paint. So that's why the best is just to work as quick as you can, and also using your paper towel. If you get more paint, always dab off. So it just helps control the amount of paint that's on your brush, amount of water that's on your brush if you're going back in. You can already tell there's some harsh lines. So I'm gonna dab off my brush so it's still pretty wet. It's still wet, but it's not gonna be sopping wet. Because with this, you just really want that transition to be the best and have no harsh lines. So I just added some clean water there and blended that in. So that's our pretty night sky. And then our trick for our mountain is gonna be, we're gonna grab just the slightest hint of that green and we're gonna just tap it in like it's reflecting. And then we're gonna do the exact same thing with the blue. Just kind of tap it in as if it were reflecting onto that mountain. And that's just really going to help it feel like it's at night and have the shadows, because you're not going to have crystal white snow showing. It's going to have that bluish shadow from the night sky. Okay, so there is our night sky, and we are going to stick with this blue paint to give us our snowy shadows. So I'm just going to stick with my larger brush. I'm going to start scratching in our snow. And then as we get closer, that snow is going to get darker. You can even add in a little bit of that green paint if you want to give some variety. I'm gonna just blend the majority of that out. The only other thing I'm going to do to make this feel a little bit more like a night scene, I just feel like my snow is a little too white. I'm just gonna get an extremely light wash of that blue we used for the sky, and I'm just gonna paint in even more of our snow. So you still have that dry brush look, but the highlight is more this lighter blue instead of just the white. And there you have 2 mountain landscapes. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please subscribe, check out my blog, and I hope to see you back in my next tutorial. Have a great day. Bye.